You're on.
Good evening. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Tuesday, May 26, 2020, and the time is 6 p.m. Our first order of business is call to order. Why don't you just raise your hands? I see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 commissioners here. So we have a quorum, so we can start. The next order is conflict of interest. So we have 5 cases on the agenda tonight. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with any of the cases? So you shake your heads no, I can see all of you. So I see all no's. All right. There's some advantages to this Zooming, you know. Okay, so if we don't see any conflict of interest. The next item is approval of minutes. So I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Madam Chair,
Yes?
Russ Smith, motion to approve minutes.
Is there a second?
Luis Guerrero here. I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the April 28th meeting. Any discussion? Anybody have any corrections or comments on the minutes? So all those in favor, say aye.
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 Harvey, did we get your aye?
I said, you can't hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Mine.
Yeah. Did you say
Can you
aye to
hear me?
approve the minutes?
Yes, I did. Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Next is postponements. We don't have any. After that is public participation. We don't have that either because we're not meeting physically. So next item is the consent agenda. So I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? Motion by Commissioner Bennett. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, Russ Smith, second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Smith. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Any comments or any information from anybody else? Okay, then again, I will just go with say aye. Or
Aye.
Aye.
all right. The next is old business. We don't have any old business. And then we're on new business. So John Moscato, we just passed yours on the consent agenda. You have to unmute yourself.
Very good. Thank you.
So you don't need to say anything. It was a short meeting for you.
Very good. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
New business. The first case is 20Z0. 20Z005000032, a zone change. I need a motion and a second to approve that case.
Madam Chair, Russ Smith, motion to approve. And that's again case 20Z005000032.
Is there a second?
I'll second Commissioner Bennett here.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve case 20Z005000032. We have a presentation.
We do have a presentation. Let me go ahead and share my screen for the commission. Okay, where do we go? 308 is open. Share the screen.
Madam Chair, while she's doing that, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I've been having some trouble. This is a new tablet and I'm giving a little bit of difficulty. I just want to make sure you're hearing me. Thank you.
Okay, so now while she's presenting, though, you need to mute your microphone, and then when you want to speak, unmute it. It's over in the left-hand corner. There's a little microphone. Yeah, okay, you got it. You muted it. Good.
So I'm still working on this only because it's not finding the one presentation I need to present right now. Everything else is opening up. So let me see. I can open 308. Let's see. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have your screen, Sarah.
Yes.
Okay. So we do have a property that is requesting a zone change from R4, which is high density residential and limited office district, to O2 professional office with limited retail service. Property is, as stated, located within the South Mesquite Overlay District. That is why the R4 designation is high density residential and limited office district as opposed to intensities. Property is currently a vacant single family residence, and the structure was built in 1920 and then remodeled in 1940, which is why it has a contributing status in our registry with the state and federal. Here's a zoning map of the subject property. As you can see, it's highlighted in yellow. It is zoned R4. Surrounding this property is also R4 and C1, which is our commercial districts or zoning designations within South Mesquite. And to the west is also our downtown development code district. Here's an aerial map of the subject property. As you can see, it is basically a single family dwelling that is located just north of the attorney's office that is on the south side. There's a single family residence to the east. You have vacant land to the north, and then you have the federal building, which is outlined onto the west side. So the applicant is requesting to go to O2, which is professional office with limited service, in order to provide low-intensity professional office. They are looking to expand the attorney's office that is located to the south and have purchased this property in order to redevelop it and use it for more office space for their constituents and then members of the public. With the process, they will still have to meet all of the zoning, building, and fire codes, as well as the South Mesquite overlay design requirements in reestablishing the unit. Currently, the adjacent land uses are basically vacant, professional office, single family, financial institution, and then federal buildings. So this makes it compatible because we now see that transitional zone between our downtown development, commercial, and then leads us into our residential district that is towards the east. Here's the proposed site plan of the subject property. That's the existing building. And with the development, the applicant is going to go ahead and provide parking that would not be required by code. Within South Mesquite overlay, you can use on-street parking for your designation if the building has been constructed prior to 1955. However, they do feel that they do need to accommodate for the constituents. So they'll provide parking, they'll provide landscaping, and just improve the property within this district. Staff did send out review to all of the relevant agencies. There was support from all staff. We also did send out for the South Mesquite Design Review Board meeting that took place on May 6th earlier this month. The South Mesquite Review Board did recommend approval because they would like to see the building go ahead and be utilized for something. And then based on it's located on Campo, they did feel that there is that need in that transition zone as well. Notice was sent to the surrounding property owners, and we have not received any public input for either hearing so far. So with that, staff is recommending approval for the findings found within your staff report that include infill development within Elevate, even though it is not part of South Mesquite's plan to have infill development anymore. We are still encouraging infill for vacant properties and vacant buildings. It does support the 2001 zoning code as well as other plans and policies as far as moving development forward and creating this downtown development code and South Mesquite transition point as moving forward. So I leave you this evening with options to vote yes and approve, Vote no to deny. Once again, if you do choose to deny, please provide facts of finding that were not found within your staff report due to they were recommending approval. Vote to amend or vote to table. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you.
Or I sit for any questions, Commissioner.
Very good. So, comments from anybody? I don't see anybody raising their hand. No comments. Okay, and we don't have any public input. Nobody contacted you.
That is correct, Madam Chair. Sarah Gonzalez for the record. We did not receive any public input for this case moving forward.
Okay, so I guess we can go ahead and vote. Okay, so we'll start with, I'm just going to go the way the list is on my screen. So Commissioner Gordon, how do you vote?
I vote yes, based on their presentation.
Commissioner Bennett,
I vote yes based on staff recommendation. I think it's a great thing filling in a vacant lot or a vacant building that we haven't been using.
Commissioner Muniz,
I vote yes because I feel it's important that we start filling old buildings and renewing them.
thank you. Commissioner Guerrero,
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Gutierrez for a second. Anyway, sorry. I vote yes, based on also staff recommendations and just I like downtown and I like seeing more stuff, more business, more stuff downtown. So yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Madam Chair, I vote yes. Serves infill, serves Elevate Las Cruces. I think it's a great privilege having the extra parking space off street that they're taking advantage of. I think it's a great plan.
and the chair votes yes based on staff recommendation, site visit, and the fact that the Mesquite Overlay Group also accepted it. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to, that's right? 6 to 0, no, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Madam Chair, this is Sarah for the record. We have 6 because we were just missing 1 commissioner today.
Oh, we're only missing 1. Oh, that's right. We were waiting for Levon to get it. Okay.
Mhm.
We vote. So motion passes 6 to 0. Next case is case 20Z0050047. So I need a motion to approve and a second.
And I'll make a motion. that
Sure.
we-
Commissioner Gordon,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve case number 2000050032.
no, it's 47, 00047.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong case. Let me change that. I make a motion that we approve case number 20Z0050047.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Then I'll motion to second it. Commissioner Guerrero here.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we approve case number 20Z0050047. Is there a presentation?
There is a presentation. Sarah Gonzalez for the record again with community development. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
Sarah.
your screen.
Okay, so once again, we have another proposed zone change, which is going to be from R4 multi-dwelling high density, limited retail and office to C2 for commercial medium intensity. Property is currently located at 1950 South Telshore Boulevard. It is zoned R4, which currently allows for multifamily dwelling units as well as limited retail within those spaces. Property encompasses 0.67 acres in size. It is vacant, and the surrounding property includes commercial office, single family, and then multifamily as well. Here's a zoning map of the subject property. As you can see, it is located on the northwest corner of Fairway Drive and Telshire Boulevard. North of that property is C2, C3, open space, recreational. On the east side, you definitely have multifamily, which is our R3 zoning designation. And then south, you have multifamily as well as single family. Here's an aerial of the subject property and the surrounding area. As you can see, there are definitely mixed uses within this area as far as commercial, multifamily housing, single family. And you can see that the property is currently vacant. The applicant is requesting the C2 commercial medium intensity zone change in order to develop a shopping center for low intensity commercial uses, meaning that the intention would be to put in a coffee shop or a deli, neighborhood bakery, dry cleaning, specialty stores, low intense nature to where people can walk or bike and provide goods and services within the area. C2 is a recommended zone for principal arterial roadways. And this does comply with the zoning code as well as Elevate Las Cruces. And the reason we say that it complies with Elevate Las Cruces, our comprehensive plan, is because in moving forward with this project, it now allows for commercial uses, but it doesn't remove the multifamily. So C2 zoning designation still allows us to keep the multifamily zoning district and provide apartments if they're necessary, or we can go ahead and put in the commercial use. So we actually gain components as opposed to eliminating them. Staff did send out to all relevant agencies and departments, which did support the zone change as well. And notice was sent to the surrounding property owners, and staff did receive one phone call in support of the proposed zone change, saying that there is a need for something that's going to be small. They would love to see a coffee shop or a deli go into that location so that way they could walk to those areas. So with that, staff is recommending approval. It is a vacant property in an established area that we would like to see get developed. The zone change request allows for definitely multiple commercial uses and also will allow for multifamily, which is something that is currently allowed now. So it increases the uses and the potential of that property and the area. It's located on a principal arterial roadway, which is a recommended commercial use. And it's supported by our zone change or zoning code as well as Elevate and Comprehensive Plan. So with that, staff is recommending approval. So your options would be to vote yes and approve, vote no to deny. If you do choose to deny, please provide facts of finding that were not found within your staff report, vote to amend or vote to table. As stated, zone changes are a recommending body from P&Z to City Council. The applicant is also available to answer any questions if you would like.
Thank you, Sarah. Does the applicant want to say anything, or should we just move forward?
Thank you. I'm happy just to go ahead and hear the vote. We have designed and architecturally designed a very nice building.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Would you please?
You have to take the oath before you can speak. Sorry.
Thank you.
Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Okay. And state your name again.
Thank you. My name is Nicholas Marchetto. We have designed a very nice property or a nice conceptual design that will complement the neighborhood as well as doing an infill development that will be very complementary for the neighborhood and for the area. We've come up with, it's hard to see a little bit, I know, through Zoom, but a conceptual plan that will look nice, that will be an added feature to the neighborhood, and we strongly hope that you'll vote yes for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from commissioners? Seeing none.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Russ Smith here. Curiosity, and this might go to Sarah or to Mark. Noticeably that's vacant land there. Is there any history to planning or conceptual ideas in the past for that land? It is vacant and has just been there dormant, unused, no interest in the past?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Smith, this is Sarah Gonzalez for the record. There have been no proposals that have moved forward to staff in developing that parcel of land, if that is what your question would be. We've received nothing at this point. Being that it is zoned multifamily, it has the potential of having multifamily due to the adjacent property is also multifamily. But I would leave it to the applicant if you would like to respond, if there was any previous proposals that they may have gone through that I'm not aware of and decided not to go through with them, or if it's always, essentially we have it listed as always owned as multifamily at this point.
Thank you. This is Nicholas Marquetto for the record. The property in our original conceptual design was going to be a multifamily, but rather than putting 17, 22 more apartment dwellings into a confined space, we thought it would be more supportive of the neighborhood to have a property that would be a parcel that would be more complementary and a little bit more advantageous for the neighborhood and for the surrounding development.
To your idea, Nicholas, I agree. I sense that it's a great plan, it has good fit, does well in that corridor, which I think is in its own way sort of a desert of that kind of service. My compliments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll take the vote. Commissioner Gordon.
I'm happy to see that there's another piece of vacant property that's going to be put to good use. Perhaps it'll even provide a few jobs. Based on what little bit of discussion we've heard and staff presentation and Elevate Las Cruces, I definitely vote yes.
Commissioner Bennett.
I echo Harvey's sentiments. I think it's a great opportunity to infill. I think it helps the surrounding area. It definitely meets, Elevate Las Cruces based on staff recommendation and all of that good stuff. I vote yes.
Commissioner Muniz.
I vote yes, and I look forward to seeing in District 2 some more retail on Telshore. I think we have enough high-density apartments which have brought a lot of crime into the area. So I vote, that's the reason I'm voting yes, and along with staff recommendation. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Smith, I vote yes. Elevate Las Cruces, onward and upward.
And the chair votes, Sharon Thomas votes yes. I actually can walk to that property, so I'm looking forward to a coffee shop or a deli. And I vote yes based on staff recommendation and site visit and Elevate Las Cruces. I'm glad to see that we're using Elevate Las Cruces.
Commissioner, you skipped me. Sorry.
Sorry.
I vote Commissioner Guerrero. I vote yes. I think it's looks like a great plan, and it'll be nice to see more business in that area. Definitely.
Thank you. Sorry about that. The names keep jumping around. I think I'm all the way to the bottom. It's jumped to the top. So the vote is 6-0. The motion to approve passes. The next case is case 20Z. 05000 054. May I have a motion to approve?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve case 20Z's O. Well, no, maybe that's I don't know if it's an O or a 0. It looks like an O.
Yeah.
500054.
Okay, is there a second? We need a
Madam
second.
Chair, Madam Chair, Russ Smith, second.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there a presentation, Sarah?
Madam Chair, yes, there is a presentation. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so this is a proposed infill development process for 2245 Turrentine Drive. Property is zoned R1A, which is single family medium density. It is currently a vacant lot. It encompasses 0.975 acres in size. It is within our flood zone, so it will require a CLOMAR to be turned into the FEMA map company in order to review and decide what measures will have to take place for the flood zone. And it's also located within our infill overlay. There's a zoning map of the subject property. As you can see, it's a very odd shaped lot that is zoned R1A. It is adjacent to single family residential towards the north. Towards the west is single family as well as multifamily, restaurants and a hotel. To the south is single family, multifamily, and then vacant land. So as you can see on the aerial, here to the north is the single family residential. Then you have the university overlay corridor that has encompassed the IHOP that is located on the corner of Turrentine, the Plaza Suites Hotel, which is on the west side. You have a strip of apartments, as well as some duplexes, multifamily, and then single family along University. The request is for allowance of multifamily dwellings, which would be 12 units. Currently on the property as an R1A zoning designation, the 0.97 acre tract only permits one single family home. So the applicant is requesting to deviate from one single family home to permit 12 units on the property. In doing so, the applicant is going to follow the rest of the requirements per the zoning code and does not request any deviations. That includes the required parking stalls for the development of 12 units, meeting the setbacks for the front, side, and rear. The maximum allowed height is 35 feet within this district. There is landscaping requirements, fire access requirements, a dumpster enclosure is required, as well as ponding to maintain the water that is coming from the site. Here is the filed plat that designates essentially the access to the property, which is 35 feet for road and utility access. And then you can see there are a 5-foot easement that surrounds the property, so the development would take place towards the center. Here is the proposed layout for the development of the 12 units. You would have an entrance for a two-way driving aisle that would be 24 feet wide, meeting our two-way driving standards per the zoning code. They're going to provide a bike lane and then a pedestrian sidewalk along the property in order to access the apartment. So we are now looking towards the future as far as providing within the site and then getting to the site, walkability as far as biking, other modes of transportation. These are the two buildings which are proposed to be at 25 feet in height. They are set towards the sides of the property to where the access is basically this buffer between the single family residences to the north, because this will be the driving aisle. This highlighted shaded area is for fire access in order for the fire department to come into the property and then be able to get out of the property if there were something to take place. The driving aisles meet, the parking stalls all meet for the required development to go in. Towards the south side of the property is the dumpster enclosure, which will be required to be enclosed with an opaque fence and a gate in order for utilities as well as solid waste to have access. The applicant is proposing a two-bedroom, two-bath facility for these apartments to take place, which was why they're initially asking for the 12 units. You have two buildings that are 6 units each, which would accommodate the two. Staff did send out public notice to the surrounding property owners, as well as posted the sign within the property. As part of our public notice and input process, we have been following the guidelines based on City Council, where public input is provided via email or by phone. So we do want to read into record at least those who provided public input, as well as their location if they did provide it, and then any phone calls that were taken. And then we'll go into the comments as far as the public input that was provided. So we do have Jillian and Sam Rowan that are located at 530 College Place, Robert Hastings at 2305 Turrentine Drive, Robert Hoffman at 605 College Place, Phyllis Kostler and Carl Kostler Stryker at 540 College Place, Michael and I'm so sorry, Zitali McGoggle at 520 College Place, Elaine Simon 600 College Place, Diane Viegas did not provide us an address, and then we received two phone calls. A property owner owns 500 and 725 College Place, and then 600 College Place. The concerns that were brought up to staff, as well as for the proposal for the Planning and Zoning Commission's consideration, was the garbage container location. It is located on the south of the property line, and it will be in an enclosure. If there was going to be a landscaping buffer, per our zoning code, residential properties adjacent to residential properties do not require a landscaping buffer. However, I do know that the applicant is planning on putting landscaping within the property and can, if there are additional questions as far as what the landscaping buffer may be, he can go ahead and address those. There is a possibility of increase in noise and traffic. As far as noise, we do have a noise ordinance under Chapter 19 that is regulated by the Codes Enforcement Office. So if there is an increase in noise, that can be regulated through codes. And then I also worked with our traffic engineer and indicated that based on 12 units, the number of vehicles per peak hour is designated at 10 because it's only the 12 unit development. There was also the concern of new tenants infringing on their safety. From this point, staff does not have any evidence of any safety concerns that are provided with new tenants being developed or new developments taking place on properties. And with that, we are not able to discriminate on housing types that are going to be permitted within any zoning district. There was a concern with light pollution, meeting our outdoor lighting. We do have an outdoor lighting ordinance, which is Chapter 39 of our municipal code that does address that lighting is to be placed, we know, within the parking lot, directed down, and that is inspected by our electrical inspectors here at the time of development. There is the concern of invasion of privacy for 2-story. Within the zoning designation, being that the property is zoned R1A, it does allow for 35 feet height. That is also allowance for the neighboring properties that are also zoned R1A. So the houses were developed at a time that they were at single story, but that does not mean the case of if anybody wanted to add on to the property, it could be at 35 feet. The adjacent property towards the west, which is the Plaza Suites Hotel, is also 2-story. So there is some 2-story within the neighboring properties, but we do understand that, yes, the 35 feet is something that is designated per the zoning code, so they could actually go up to that height, even if they were to place a single family home on the property. The other concern was a narrow alleyway. The property does not have an alleyway, but it does have the 35-foot access easement. And so that is more than what is required for even commercial development whenever we do develop apartments. Apartments are only required to be at 24 feet wide for a 2-way driving aisle and have a 30-foot curb cut entrance. So this meets that need and exceeds it based on the 35 feet that's designated. The 18 parking stalls that are required by the development is per our code. So in the zoning code, it says 1.5 parking stalls per unit because that's if everybody has a vehicle and they may have more than one vehicle. But we're also looking towards modes of transportation that are different. So you may have a bike, you may be able to walk. So there's different forms that we have. As far as the waterway or drainage, as stated before, it is located within the flood zone. So they will be working with the FEMA in order to create a CLOMAR for the site. They may have to elevate the pad. They may have to change where the water is directed. And they also do have to provide on-lot ponding, which means any water coming from the site that is disturbed has to be maintained within drainage ponds and have to meet engineering standards and are reviewed by our engineers here from the city. Being that the lot is zoned single family, that is why the request is coming forward. So the property does only allow for one home. However, if the property was to be subdivided, it has the potential to be subdivided into 7 single-family lots, meeting the requirement. Because of the lot sizes, you are permitted 8 single-family dwelling units per acre in an R1A zone. Or it could also be developed into townhouse family homes. And so those could be smaller lots, but still allow for multiple families to be, or multiple units to be developed on a property. There was a concern about mixed use. Within the area, when staff reviewed this, we do consider this mixed use in the sense that north of the property is single family. The south of the property is designated with either restaurants or a hotel. There's two hotels because the Marriott just went up. You also have apartments and vacant land, and then multi-use as far as duplexes or quadplexes. In understanding that the reason why staff still sees this as mixed use is because, yes, university is only about 550 feet away from this actual property. So this is a very small vicinity or area, which is, 0.1 acres away, it's 0.1 acres away from essentially university. University has this overlay and this corridor that allows for students, it allows for restaurants, it allows for, currently there is a mixed use along university of either retail, some type of service. And so seeing that, we consider this as being mixed use. There were questions of the behavior of work crews. So as construction work starts or begins, then the area will have to follow, we have an erosion control plan to maintain the dust. And then we also have working hours in which contractors can work, which is at 7 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. And there's also going to be, as far as noise, we do have noise ordinances in place. So there are restrictions as far as work crews being able to work and then the maintenance of the property as it moves forward. Once again, I have already addressed the height restrictions of the 35 feet in height, showing that there is 2-story within the vicinity of the property, just not to the north side of the direct access. However, where the buildings are, basically you have the 2 properties that are located to the west that are single story, and then right across the street from that, you have the 2-story hotel. And so being that 35 feet is an allotted use, even for the existing residential neighborhood that's there now, the restriction for them proposing 25 feet is not of an impact based on it can still be allowed by right. There were some concerns as far as postponing the case until a public can attend the meeting. Being that City Council has established guidelines for virtual meetings, and we have permitted the public to provide input through via email or by phone, we have met the requirements for a notification, and therefore are asking the cases not postponed due to infill cases by code are supposed to be expedited throughout the process. And so with that is, it's supposed to be on the next agenda, discussed, and then move forward as we increase on these infill developments and need to get them developed. So with that, staff's analysis states that there are no safety, health, or welfare issues identified, being that the property proposes 12 units. The traffic review was done and impacts as 10 traffic per hour, 10 vehicles per hour on an impact hour. This is an infill area within an established area that does encourage development of these vacant parcels. We also have Elevate, which encourages mixed use. It encourages increased density, and it's also encouraging of infill development to take place within these properties. We are trying to move forward to developing the current and existing properties we have, as opposed to extending those boundaries that we all discussed through the future development map that was done in Elevate. We also have the housing plan, which encourages mixed housing types. So if we do have single family that's located to north, now we have the apartment complex that can go in, or these apartments which provide mixed housing within a certain vicinity. We do still see that it is consistent with the area because we do have restaurants, hotels, single family, and multifamily. So with that, staff is recommending approval based on the findings within your staff report and everything that I have basically addressed within the analysis. So I leave you with your options to vote yes and approve, vote no to deny, provide facts of finding if you choose to deny because staff is recommending approval, vote yes with conditions, or vote to table. The applicant is available, and I would stand for any questions.
So does the applicant want to say anything?
Hello, Commissioners.
Okay,
Scott Bannister.
I need to swear you in, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Confirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Okay, Scott Bannister. Just wanted to let you guys know that I am aware this is a really established neighborhood that is to the north primarily, and even though, are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So we are sensitive to that, and being R1A right now, having the property to the south that will be developed commercially, one house just didn't make a lot of sense. So felt like being consistent with the neighborhood there, we would put in a multifamily complex, and we're given its location that's kind of secluded in the back, we're going for a little bit more of an upscale apartment that'll be kind of private in the back there. We're going to be marketing this more towards the grad student or the returning professional. Our finishes will be a little more high end, looking for somebody a little more mature. We're not looking, to rent to the college freshmen coming in and that type of thing. So anyway, and taking all that into consideration, there's two big trees that are in the roadway right now, and getting out and talking to some of the neighbors, that was a big concern. So what we were wanting to do with those was trim them down and then get a tree removal company to go ahead and take those out and repurpose them, because they are really nice mature trees. And then as far as the perimeter, where we've got neighbors to the south and to the west, we would definitely address the privacy with landscaping, some type of tree.
I think the neighbors are to the north and the west.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And address those to give, add to the seclusion and give a little more privacy to the tenants. Really, I think this place, I've had this property for 8 or 9 years, 10 years, something like that. It's just had an old concrete pad out there forever. We cleaned it up. We've had homeless people living in there, and I think it's time. The market will bear. We're in dire need of housing, so I think now's the time to go ahead and try and provide some. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay, questions or comments from our commissioners?
This is Commissioner Gordon.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Gordon.
I have a simple question. It's just a matter of mathematics, I think. We're going to provide 18 spaces for this complex. I understand. Well, usually when people move in, they usually have 2 cars. If that's the case, that definitely will present a problem. But what happens if, for example, on a weekend, all the residents are there and they all have guests? Where are people going to park?
Well, to the south there it's a dirt vacant lot. So, we could have some runoff.
Mr. Bannister, would you identify yourself, please, again?
Yes, Scott Bannister, applicant.
For the record, thank you.
Yes, sir. Currently, there's a 3 acres of dirt lot that would be parking, but we're anticipating, given its proximity to the university, that we're going to get some tenants that will have bicycles as a primary means, or scooters, or that type of thing, to alleviate some of the parking.
Well, this is Commissioner Gordon again. I can understand how you think. I'm just looking for the worst scenario. If in case it doesn't work out that way, I would think that to the south, it looks like there's I actually visited the site. I walked the property. There is that large piece of property that's a little to the south of the buildings where it sticks out. It looks like an arrow almost. Why can't you just put some spaces there for offsite, a little bit off apartment parking where people can, if they have guests, say that's guest parking or overflow parking or something of that nature? What would be the problem with putting some spaces in there?
Scott Bannister, it would be fine with me if that doesn't cut into the drainage. Sarah?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gordon, being that the site is already going to be in compliance, so any apartment complex that comes in or any development for multifamily, it has 1.5 vehicles basically per unit.
Excuse me, Sarah, just a minute. We have 5 open mics right now because a few people mute their mics. We're not getting a clear transmission with Sarah here. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Better. Thank you. Much better.
No problem. Madam Chair and Commissioner Gordon, as stated, so the zoning code requires 1.5 parking stalls per unit. With the development, if the applicant puts in the 18 parking stalls, that is what our code has required. We've alleviated, I believe it was 2 years ago, having maximum to where they provided more, and it was just providing those minimums. Now, as developments come in, that's basically our code requirements. If they can provide more, then they're able to provide more. However, depending on the design of the lot, and in this case, the design of the lot is very tricky as far as where you can place parking, and then still having accessibility for the fire department to get in if there's any emergencies. So if the applicant can provide more, then that would be the request. However, they are not required to based on our code that we've adopted.
Any other comments or questions?
Uh,
Can you hear me?
Yes, Commissioner Muniz?
Yeah, I've raised my Levon Muniz. Sir, you mentioned in your statement that you want your apartments to cater to graduate students and not the young people who like to party. How can you guarantee this?
Well, Scott Bannister, there is no guarantee, but our price point, I think, would be a little more prohibitive. We'll probably charge about $150 a month more than some of the older apartments around there. 150 to actually like 250 because there's a variance with some of the apartments. But we feel like our price point is going to be a little bit higher, and I feel like that would lend itself more to a more mature, established tenant.
I live in District 2, and I watch some lovely homes destroyed by some of our young people that go to the college. 2 would rent the place, and then 5 and 6 would move in, and a lot of the landlords were out of town, and neighborhoods deteriorated and went through a lot of trouble. And that's one of the things that worries me, because of the homes that are established there now, is noise and making sure that these are more family oriented apartment houses. You're close to the university, and I just wonder how you can protect your buildings, that are being built, and the neighbors, the surrounding neighbors, from extra noise and parties and cars zooming up the street, because it does happen in that area.
Yes, ma'am. Scott Bannister. I agree. It's would definitely be a concern. I mean, I feel like I live here in town. This will be an investment, a significant investment that I will definitely want to protect. And I have a pretty extensive background check that they have to pass, if you will, i.e. credit, job history, or school history, that type of thing, to really trying to ensure we get the best quality tenant, and protecting the investment, and it'll, like I said, it'll be kind of a secluded place, so being quiet is going to be of the utmost importance.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Sharon Thomas. I like to add that when I've seen new apartments that were attractive to undergraduates, It's been 4 bedrooms, with, 2 bedrooms on one side with a bath and 2 bedrooms on the other side with a bath, and then sharing the living room and kitchen in the middle. And I've lived in university communities for the last 50 years. And so when new things came in, if that was the configuration, we could be certain it was going to be undergraduates, be pretty loud. So I think the way he has the apartments set up, doesn't lend itself to that. And I'm also can say I live across the street from a huge apartment complex, mostly more upscale apartments, and we've been here for 17 years, and we've only had one incident of noise. The party was a graduation party. It wasn't a big deal. So I think that the applicants is doing the right thing, trying to reduce those possibilities. Anybody else? Other comments?
Madam Chair,
Russ.
Yes, Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Russ Smith, for the record. I think over time, and this goes to Scott Bannister, it would be somewhat inevitable that you would rent to a freshman, but I don't think that's really the point. I think what you're presenting is a way of looking at the community in that area as an improvement with infill that I think serves the ideals of Elevate Las Cruces. And I think that because of that investment that you're trying to protect, you're on the right track thinking of best practices to make it serve right. I submit that if an apartment building or something similar to this were going in on the north end of town, the concept or discussion might be a little bit different. But since you're near University Avenue, I think we all get it, where that would serve the university and the traffic there. I think you're on the right track. I think well of this.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Gordon?
I have another question. In looking at the diagram, you mentioned in your opening comments that you would be providing landscaping, I guess, which you would use as a buffer. Is that going to go all the way around this property? Because a lot of this property borders on College Avenue. That's the north side. And it runs all the way from where you get ingress into the property along there and all the way to where the easement is at the end. It comes all the way back around. I know there's nothing to the west as you come around the property back down towards the east. I'm sorry, I take that back. The east and then coming back to the west is not very much. It's just vacant land. But how much landscaping are you going to provide? And could you tell me possibly what type?
Yes, Scott Bannister. Yes, sir. We found that and I don't know the exact species, but it's a pine tree that's it grows really quickly and gains vertical height very quickly. So what the plan was along the west side where those 2 houses are to cover those. And then on the north side, there's 2 houses that would have exposure. So we would protect those.
So what you're saying is that there is any adjacency to a home that, let's say, perhaps their backyard, you would be putting in landscaping.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gordon. That was one of my questions, and I was particularly concerned about the 2 houses that are on Turrentine to the west, because those seem to be the closest, and actually the back of the apartments overlook those. So thank you for that. Then you said you were going to put in a sidewalk and a bike lane where the alley is when you make it wider. So will the bike lane and the sidewalk be on the south side where the property of the single family house is?
Scott Bannister. Oh, go ahead.
Madam Chair, this is Sarah for the record. I did work with traffic, and so at first it was going to be located towards the south side of it. However, we're going to probably have the applicant relocate it to the north, only because the alignment of the roadway that is directly on the west side, it aligns better if the bike lane and the actual sidewalk is on the north side as opposed to the south side. So we would ask that it be adjacent to the northern properties that are adjacent to College over there.
So I was just asking because there was a suggestion about having a 5-foot strip on the south side that's adjacent to that house that's right there. So you're telling me that that's probably not possible if you're going to align them in the best way with the street, right?
And that was Chairman Thomas. Correct.
Madam Chair, that is correct. Yes, we would like to have the realignment to where the roadways actually have a better connection, because we always find that anytime the roadways are aligned in a different way and you're trying to exit, sometimes it can be hard for visibility. So we want to ensure the safety of those who are leaving the property and those who may be entering it.
Okay, thank you for that.
That was Sarah Gonzalez for the record.
And this is Sharon Thomas again. This question is for you, Sarah. So I just want you to go over this again about, there was some request that we limit it to 6 or 8 buildings because the claim was made that that's what the R1A zoning code allows. So can you go over that part again about why it can be 12, just so we have that for sure on the record?
Sure. Sarah Gonzalez for the record, Madam Chair and Commission. The property is zoned R1A, which allows for 8 dwelling units per acre under the current zoning code. However, we do have the infill development process that does allow for the applicant or property owners to request deviations to either land use, anything within the zoning code that could be setbacks, height restrictions, in order to develop a property. So sometimes you're limited on size, or sometimes you run into a case like this where the property is almost an acre in size, and apartments would be a good fit based on the jurisdiction or the area of the property. So the infill is used in order to develop vacant parcels. The applicant can go through the subdivision process, which would allow them to do about, based on the size, since it's 0.975, is 7 lots if they subdivided it out. So we could have the potential of 7 lots, or it could be the 12 apartment units based on the property and seeing the jurisdiction of the area, located to university and services and goods. Staff evaluated and the applicant had proposed it. And when they come forward with a proposal, we just provide that recommendation. So this allotted the applicant using the infill process to request up to 12 units. The commission is the ultimate or has final action for infill development. So there could be a request to reduce it, make it more intense following Elevate. So we're using our plans and policies to actually identify these infill parcels.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments?
I have a comment too. I've had my hand raised for a while. Sorry, Commissioner Guerrero here. I just wanted to express concern. Actually, quite a few concerns, but for the most part, so I'm really familiar with the neighborhood. I've been there before. I've driven by, did a drive-by, and I honestly agree with a lot of the neighbors. I mean, I understand how this apartment complex could be a nuisance. So I just wanted to bring that up. Parking, like Mr. Gordon has said, doing the math doesn't add up. And I know that it's great. It's a great idea to have more bike lanes and have more, more walkability. But I mean, being realistic, most households don't bike in Las Cruces. It'd be great if they did. So I just wanted to bring that up. I mean, we don't really always receive a bunch of emails for properties or anything like that. So, I think it's fair to definitely listen to the people that live in that neighborhood. So anyway, just wanted to throw that comment in there.
Thank
We received a
you.
lot of emails.
Let's see, we haven't heard from Commissioner Bennett. Do you have a comment? No? Okay.
No, I think mostly, this is Bennett. I think most of the concerns have been addressed.
Thank you. All right, I guess we'll go to the vote now. So, Commissioner Gordon,
This is Commissioner Gordon. Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Based on the staff presentation, our discussion, the concerns that I have, I think have been addressed. I think that this will be something that we can count on to do a nice improvement and some use of, to do some infill development. I think that when this project is done and if everything that the developer has promised, especially with all the buffering, the lighting, I think this will turn out to be a nice project. I think that he does know what the value of his investment is and where he's not going to let it go down the drain by letting what he would think would be undesirable type of tenants that would, I don't like to say they would trash the property, but would make it very undesirable for people who want to be there. So based on that and elevate Las Cruces, I would vote yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Muniz?
This is a hard one for me. I'm going to say no to the project. I would like to see this postponed so that people that live in that area can come before us once this pandemic is over and talk to us. Not everyone has access to computers. And to me, there have been a lot of concerns from residents in the surrounding area. So I would like to see this project postpone the hearing and have those that have their concerns come before us in person. And I think it'll be easier for them to tell us their concerns, and along with the developer, for him to answer questions that they have. I do not live in the area, so I don't have the same questions. And I feel for them losing, you know, you buy something R1 and it changes and they lose their privacy. So I'm going to say no at this time. It's not that I'm objecting to the project. I just feel that the residents should have a fair hearing in front of us. Is that a proper vote?
Yep. Thank you. Commissioner Bennett? Commissioner Bennett?
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Sharon. I vote yes. I mean, there are some hesitations. It meets the code as far as parking goes, but I mean, I definitely do have some concerns with that. I apologize for my dog. But it meets infill, meets Elevate Las Cruces, staff recommendation, site survey, and I feel some of the concerns have been addressed with the discussions that have taken place.
Thank you. You have more?
Sorry, I didn't know if it cut me off. I vote to approve. I don't know if you heard that.
Commissioner Hierro?
I'm gonna second Levon and also vote no. This was a tough one, mostly because yes, in general, I would like to have more infill. I just don't feel like an apartment property in that area is the answer. It'd probably be better if it was subdivided. But I also totally agree with Levon, and I think we're missing out on an opportunity to hear from the residents in the area. I mean, we did receive, like I said, a bunch of emails, and staff got a few. I think they said a couple phone calls, but I think we're kind of this is the kind of case that doing these things through Zoom is hard. And I already expressed my concerns to staff earlier about that, but this is just the time we're living in. But yes, I'm gonna unfortunately I'm gonna say no.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Madam Chair, Russ Smith. I vote yes. I think that staff has used Elevate and Infill and the tooling that has given us through the plan well, and it gives this plan footing. to stand on. And I have welcomed the input from the community. I think it's been well received and heard. So I vote yes.
Thank you. And the chair also votes yes, based on the presentation and a site visit and my desire to see more infill and my personal experience of living in a neighborhood with apartment buildings, townhouses, duplexes, single family, huge, expensive, $400,000-$500,000 single families, and we seem to all get along and tolerate each other. So the chair also votes yes. So motion passes 4-2.
Excuse me, Scott Bannister here. May I just give a parting word?
Sure.
I appreciate the vote. For the two dissenting votes, I want to assure you, I've been in Las Cruces for 30 plus years, and this is my hometown. And every project that we do, I want it to be the best. I bought a property over on Milton that was Slumville. We put $20,000 into it, remodeled it, and it's something that we can be proud of. And I hope the people around me do the same thing. And I can just assure you, once this project is completed, you'll drive by and it'll be something that you'll be very proud of to have in your community. I just want to, give you my assurance. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Luis Guerrero here. Thank you, Mr. Bannister. Appreciate those words. I just, like I said, my problem is not so much the property. It's more, just the fact that there's a lot of opposition in the neighborhood. But I mean, I wish you the best. I know you're trying to beautify the city, and I mean, I love Las Cruces. I've lived here pretty much half my life, and I love this place. So I mean, I agree with you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next item is commission commentary.
I wanted to say, Sharon, something. I had my hand up.
Okay.
This is
Commissioner
Levon Denise.
commentary.
I just want to explain. I'm not against the project. I just feel that neighbors are concerned, and I feel a hearing with them in person would benefit the developer. He can answer their questions. I can't answer their questions. He can reassure them. And that's the reason I voted no at this time. I'd like to see a public hearing where they can come forward and talk to him in person. I'm sure he has done a good job in other developments around town. And I just want that clarified. I'm for any redevelopment, but I also am concerned with the residents who have been there all these years. So I think they need a better platform to bring forth their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, that was Commissioner Munoz.
Any other commissioner comment?
Madam Chair.
Bennett, I just wanted to say I love all these.
Bennett?
This is Commissioner Bennett. I love all these infills. I think it's a great thing we're doing here, filling in empty spaces within the city as opposed to expanding and not addressing those. So,
Commissioner Smith, you wanted to make a comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, Russ Smith here. Here we are in pandemic mode. Here we are in Zoom mode. Here we are in a mode of communication as best we can. I am really pleased that Larry Nichols and Sarah Gonzalez have worked so hard to develop that format for communication so that people do have a sense of input. I think it's done well. It's maybe not perfect, but I think the world is still turning in our favor as communication goes like this.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comment?
This is Commissioner Gordon.
Yes, Commissioner Gordon?
Unfortunately, we are in a time of where we will have to hopefully not live with this much longer. At the way things are going and the way the city is reopening, it could be conceivable in the near future that we will have the the time to go back to have open meetings. We will all meet in the chambers. Until then, if we don't have these type of meetings, like I said when we first started this, it is possible that these cases will pile up. Like tonight there were 3. Last week there were a couple. Last month there were a couple more. Next month there could be 4. And after a while, you could be having to do one evening, 9 or 10 cases, which would be literally impossible for us to do. We would have to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and hopefully you could be finished. So I think that our hope is that we can have not to live with this much longer. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a good point. So I just want to say it's nice to see so many infill projects coming forward, and it's nice to see that we're using Elevate Las Cruces, and real happy to see that as well, and looking at place types. So, and I second what everyone else said. You know, this is where we have to communicate at this point, but we don't want to not communicate, so we're doing the best we can. Are there any staff announcements?
Yes, Madam Chairman, and members of the Commission, Larry Nichols, Community Development. I do have 3 items that I'd like to briefly cover with the Commission. And the first, you just mentioned briefly that you were anxious to see and appreciative of the Elevate, and as well as the other commissioners this evening, recognizing that we're utilizing Elevate Las Cruces and the different items that come before you. You know, we spent over 2 years, all of you on the Commission were part of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. We spent 2 years of effort in developing this plan, and now we're implementing it. And we had a meeting today with the City Council, and we told them that we were using certain aspects of the implementation for Elevate Las Cruces. And tonight was a demonstration of that. The 3 cases that you heard that were not, that were on consent did reference Elevate Las Cruces, and we're going to continue to do that. You know, we do have short-term implementation processes, and we are in that mode right now. The next item I'd like to mention is, as was discussed here at the end of the meeting, was the virtual meetings, the Zoom meetings. All of us are anxious to get back to the council chambers where we can be in that format and in that environment to hear cases, have public participation as we had before. But with the governor's directive and with the pandemic concerns, we need to continue to conduct business. The applicants, the property owners do have a right to bring their case forward in a certain period of time. We are responsible as staff and the Commission to hear those cases in the time that is in our ordinances. And I appreciate each and every one of you being patient with this and working with this. You've done an exemplary job. Yes, we have to present the public comment and concerns to you in written format, but that doesn't mean that they were not presented. They were, as you saw tonight. And we had the obligation, we have the responsibility on infill developments. We are not able to table those or postpone them. We are required to take action on them. And I do appreciate you're doing that this evening on these cases. And then my last item is, oh geez, we seem to have trouble keeping full staff here, particularly in the planning program. I'm going to have to regrettably announce that Deborah Fuller, one of our planners who presented to you last month, her husband has been made an offer in Alabama, and So her husband and Deborah are going to, and their daughter are going to be going to take that position. Her last day will be June the 10th. So we'll be doing another recruitment for a planner to help support the Planning and Zoning Commission for your case packets. And that's all I have, Madam Chairman. And thank you once again for your patience and endurance on the Zoom meeting format. Oh, I do have one other item. I'm sorry. My last item is I believe we will probably have the June meeting with the Zoom format. I think after that we'll be back to our regular format, but I'm anticipating that we will have the June Planning and Zoning Commission meeting by Zoom format. And that's all, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. If there's nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Larry a question if you could get him back for me.
Sure.
I watched the meeting this afternoon from City Chambers, and I noticed that it was said that community development, I think, is in the process of trying to get an outside consultant. And once you do, you're going to start the process of redoing the zoning codes. And you estimate that will take approximately a couple of years, which I'm sure it will. How far into the process of getting a proposal to get someone in to do this, do you know?
Madam Chairman and Commissioner Gordon, Mr. Weir has been assigned that task to pursue we're in the request for proposal stage on that, and that will go to the Selection Advisory Committee, and we will make a selection, but we're at that stage of putting out the request for proposals. It will take quite a bit of time. That zoning code has not been updated nearly 19 years or so, and so it's desperately needed. We struggle. The commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, struggles. The staff struggles with some of the conflicts or ambiguities in the code itself, and we need to get that straightened out. And we think it's time to do it. I'm thankful for it. We did the Elevate Comprehensive Plan first, and we've done the active transportation plan, and now it's time for the zoning code updates. So that's the point we are right now. As you mentioned, it's going to be an extensive effort because there will be a number of public meetings for that to get public participation, but it's something that's very much needed.
You need to unmute yourself, Commissioner Gordon.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
I'm having trouble with this. Should I assume that the Planning and Zoning Commission is to participate like we did in the development of Elevate Las Cruces?
And Madam Chairman and Commissioner Gordon, you're exactly right on that. It's going to be a very similar participation. I believe there will probably be an ad hoc committee formed for it, as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission. And of course, then it will go to City Council for final adoption.
Okay. Anything else from anybody else? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to complete the meeting.
I second the motion to complete the meeting or adjourn, whatever you want to call it.
Russ Smith, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second motion to adjourn. Okay, so we're adjourned. All those in favor say aye. Sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're adjourned. The time is 7:19. Thank you very much for all your work.